Okay. I can't hear anybody else right now. Are you there? Ah, I can see
Hi.
you now. I can
Hey.
hear you now too. We're
Hi.
recording. I guess this can be, if anyone's watching the beginning of this recording, this is Sophie and I'm Lindsay. We're just setting this up and we didn't want to, by accident, start it and then not be able to start it again. So you'll have to fast forward through the first 5 minutes. Is that right, Sophie, if someone's watching this recording?
Yeah, exactly. Just through the
Okay.
first minute while we're setting up.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, and someone's already in here. Hi, Tina. Welcome.
Yeah. So I
If
think
you
we
want
have
to,
136 people in here already.
oh, really? Okay, wow.
Mm.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Do you want to start by sharing your slide and we'll start in a minute? I'll put my video on pause right now and then I'll come back in a minute. Hi, Hasnain, Sharon. Hello, hello. All right, I'll join in a minute then. I'll just wait while
Sure.
you start everything. Okay.
Okay, should we get started?
Yes, I think so. Yep.
Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Thanks for coming along. Hope you're having a good evening and a good week with the new situation teaching online, if you're doing that. Thanks to Lindsay Clandfield for presenting tonight. Lindsay is based in Spain, and this is the third webinar he's presented for us about getting ready to teach online in a hurry. So yeah, thanks Lindsay for tailoring it specifically to our situation. Lindsay's a teacher trainer, and he's been teaching online English language for about 18 years. He's also written a couple of books about teaching online. One's called Dealing with, is it difficulties teaching online?
Yep.
And the other one is called Interaction Online.
That one is called Teaching Online, and the other is Interaction Online. Dealing with
Yeah.
difficulties, the third book, but about face-to-face classes. But yeah.
Okay, got it. Interaction Online, he co-authored with Jill Hadfield, and it's been extremely popular since it came out a couple of years ago because it has some great communicative sort of interactive activities for online classes. So thank you, Lindsay. I'll hand over to you now.
Okay, great. I'll share my screen. Oh, you'll have to stop sharing yours.
Done.
Okay, so let me just share here, and I'm going to ask if people can see. Can you please type if you can see? Can somebody type something if you can see my screen now? Yes, you can. People are scared. Yes. I realize there's hundreds of you in here, so I won't be able to answer everybody's things, although there will be room for questions at the end. Yeah, I do have the chat open, and I may do one or two small type of activities with you using the chat. So keep the chat open. I think you may be able to drag the chat over to one side, and let's get started. So my name is Lindsay Clandfield. I'm from Canada, but I'm based in Spain. So I have been locked into my apartment here with my family now. We're on day 16 of our lockdown, which has been very strict in Spain. I have my two teenage sons here. One's at university, one's at high school. They're both following their classes online. I do lots of work with teachers in different countries. in the past was helping teachers begin to set up courses online. More recently has been helping people who have suddenly had to go online. So I've been doing webinars and some consulting and helping with different schools on that. When there isn't a worldwide pandemic, I'm usually writing materials and doing some online training myself and sometimes some teaching as well. I'm an English teacher originally. And our first two webinars that are available through English Australia, the first one I did was on moving online in a hurry. So basic principles of how to set things up and kind of things about tutor presence and tips and things like that. The second one was about using your course book online if you were teaching a course, and using breakout rooms if you were using a tool like Zoom, which is what we're using today. So thank you very much to Sophia English Australia for having gotten a hold of Zoom so that you can experience what it's like in here. So I'm teaching you now in Zoom the way you do my classes in Zoom. So I'm sharing a PowerPoint, you have a chat thing open. My classes are usually smaller than 100 or 200 and odd people. But what I'm going to do in this session is really look at practical activities that can be done both in forums. So if you have a forum or a group like a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or anything where you have a group where people can type things, I'll be sharing some practical activities for those. And then I'll be sharing some practical activities for live lessons. Again, like things with Zoom, kinds of things that you can do at the beginning of a class, at the end, game type activities, and so on. So two different styles of things. I've also kept in mind that many of you are teaching English for academic purposes. So that's why I did more of the discussion forum things, because that's a more common thing, especially for university classes and English for academic purposes. There may be more forum type work, although you may also eventually be doing live classes. However, I hope that many of these activities could be adaptable. So if you were teaching business, you may be able to adapt these in that way. If you're teaching other specific groups of learners, you may be able to adapt them in that way. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start by talking about just a discussion forum task, okay? So one of the most typical types of online discussion forum task is kind of like a throwback to online learning's origins, which were like in learning by mail at open universities and things like that. And often this involved like read all these things that we mail you and then write your response, yeah? So this kind of task has been put into many online courses. So like they say, read the article and then post your thoughts in the forum. Okay, sometimes it gets a little bit better than that, but I see this an awful lot in courses where there's a forum. Yeah, and in my last webinars, we talked about how that forum might look, where it might be. But this task, much used, is also not that great, I think, especially for language learning classes, but all courses in general. Here are a couple of problems with the normal discussion forum task. One is that people don't post anything until the very end. And so there's no discussion. So you get a whole bunch of unlinked kind of things where someone just posts their thought. That's one problem. The second problem with this task is that often your keen learner will post the best thoughts in the forum. So that you might get like one keen person who posts a whole bunch in the forum, and then everyone else sort of feels like, well, all the good stuff was said about that article. I have nothing left to add. So then you have these sort of trickle in of like, I think, you know, what Jim wrote was good. I don't have anything to add. Or they might try to restate it in a different way or whatever. So those two problems mean that this task often falls flat. So there are and in a way, I think that this task is a bit like the kind of thing of like a novice teacher in a speaking class saying to everyone, okay, everybody get into pairs and have a conversation about public transport. It's sort of like, you know, like we usually give more help, more support in a thing like that. So I'm going to give you one way the easiest way of tweaking this task to encourage more interaction in a forum. By the way, this could be in like a Facebook group, in another group, in a Google Classroom thing, in a Moodle forum or whatever. So one way that I often will tweak this task, the quickest way to adapt for interaction, is they read a text, article, or chapter. Yeah, so they read it, and then I post a question in the forum. So for example, if they read a text about, I don't know, about, I don't know, whatever text it is, I would post a starting off question. And then I say, whoever arrives first in the forum posts an answer to that question. At the end of the post, they have to write another question about the text. The next person who comes answers that question and then asks a different question. And they continue like that in that way. The rules are that everyone has to post at least once. You cannot repeat the same question that someone else asked, so you have to read the other posts to make sure you don't do that. And you cannot answer your own question. So you can't like post and then answer your own question and ask another question and so on. Yeah, so this is a very simple way of forcing everyone to adapt. So you give some rules, everyone is interacting, you will get different angles on it. Again, if you had a group of like 40 people, you might want to divide them into groups, because that would be rather a lot to come up with 40 different questions about a text. But this works fine for groups up to like 10, 12 people. After that, maybe subdivide them into groups, and you give the deadline and so on and so forth. So super easy. If you're doing teacher training, this works as well. This works almost for any kind of thing where they have a certain level of English that they can at least answer a question and ask a question. They just adapt that in that way. Okay, so that's one very simple thing you can do. It doesn't require a lot. Let's go on. Okay, I'm going to look at different forum types of activities. Okay, I'm going to look at forum activities that are, hold on, let me just show you here, that are personalized. So activities that help a group gel and come together, like a kind of like sharing personal information. So this would be like your kind of mingle activities or the kind of speaking activities you might do in a language classroom, you know, like sort of the find someone who's and things like that, questionnaires, that kind of stuff. I'll look at some of those activities. I'm going to look at discussions that involve research and facts. So these would be the types of activities in a forum that involve students like having to go off and research something or involve facts. So maybe they've read a fact-based article and they have to reply to it in some way, or they have to do some research on their own. So ways that they can interact on a forum online like that. I want to look at discussions that involve critical interaction. This is what lots of people really kind of want. Teachers kind of like the idea of having in courses on academic subjects, you know, that you can critically interact with things. So I'm going to look at tasks that help encourage that critical interaction. And then I'm going to finally look at discussions that involve a creative output, where the students work together to create something, you know, like something creative, like a story or a poem or a poster or something like that. So we're going to look at different task types that do that. Okay, let's get started. By the way, I won't, feel free to pop a question in or something in there. If I can, in the chat, I will address it if it comes up. Otherwise, I'll come to it at the end. Later on in our live activities, I will be asking you to type things into the chat. Okay, so I'll be getting you to participate a bit. These activities, though, that I'm talking about are asynchronous. These means these will be activities where you don't all have to be online at the same time, where students will come in and post in their own time, given a specific deadline. Okay, let's start with the personalized activities. One that I quite like is Jill and I created this activity. We called it Happy Picture. This is the kind of thing we do often at the beginning of a course. So here's the exact kind of text that I write for a thing like this. I would put in the form, I'd put, what's your definition of happiness? What makes you happy? Find a picture that expresses happiness to you or helps you remember a happy moment. One of your own pictures or an online picture, and then I give them a deadline. Now, what's very important is I do this and I just get them to post this here by the deadline. The deadline might be 24 hours, for example. You have 24 hours to find a picture and post it in the forum. That's pretty easy and doable. You don't have to write anything, just do that. Once that deadline has passed, now we get the next task. Look at 3 other people's pictures and post a question. And then I give them models of the question. Did you post this picture because? Do you have a special memory connected with it? Can you explain why? Now, if any picture already has 3 questions, they have to choose a different picture and they have to post their questions. And when they have to keep an eye on their own picture, when their picture accumulates 3 questions, they reply to the questions. Obviously, tweak the number of questions. If you have a small class, it could just be 1 question or 2 questions. You don't have to make it 3 questions. But again, what I do here is I stagger the tasks. So the first thing is the photos, and then once the photos are out, then the next thing happens. The reason I do this is to keep them engaged in it. If I throw this all up together at the same time, some of them don't read through to the end task. So these are the tasks get staged in this way. I will be talking at the end, by the way, if anyone is wondering about this, about how I assess tasks like these. So there are assessment criteria that I will be sharing with you at the end on how to assess tasks like these beyond just correcting the grammar and vocabulary. Okay, so this is a nice little task where people will be posting photos. By the way, that's a photo of something that makes me happy, which is riding a mountain bike in the kind of hilly areas near my house in the south of Spain. Okay, so that's a nice kind of opening activity. If you didn't want to do happiness, you could do other things. What's your definition of success? What's your definition of education? What's your definition of adventure, of love? So you could find pictures that relate to one of these things. I put it as happiness because I think we could do with some happiness these days. But it can be other things as well. Yeah, same format. Here's a really nice little activity that you can do, again, maybe towards the end of a course or at the beginning. It depends on the group that you have. Jill did this with her class, and she said they really reacted well to it. In your forum or in your group, whatever, you give partners. So you insert the name to the someone's saying that they have a question, but I'm gonna wait just for a moment. Just post a question in here and I'll see if I can get to it. Okay, otherwise it'll go into the question things. There's a question part as well. Okay, so here you put a series of partners. So you put partners together. So you give the list of the people working together in partners. And then you give them a deadline. They have to find as much out as possible about their partners under likes and dislikes, interests and hobbies, ambitions and wishes. And ask your partner to describe themselves, what kind of person they are. So they can do this by email if they have each other's emails. They can do this as instant messages to each other, however you want them to be communicating with each other. They could do this by Skype. They could kind of get and do the thing by Skype. So they need to do that by the certain deadline. Then the next thing is, now that you know a little bit about your partner's likes and interests, think of a present that would be good for them, okay? This can be an object or a voucher or whatever. So you find a picture of the present and you post it and you explain why you chose that present. So you put like, here's a voucher with a picture of a go-kart, you know, and then you post the picture and the explanation by the deadline. So everyone exchanges a little virtual present. This is another kind of nice thing here. I'm going to close the chat here. Okay, I don't know what's going on in the chat, but I'm just going to close it for a moment here. Please no jokes or anything at the moment. Okay, let's be careful with language. All right. Okay, let's keep going. And then after that, you thank your partner for the present. So you post a reply in the form. Excuse my accent there. That was my autocorrect for some reason in Spanish. Put that there. It should be no accent on form. So those are the 3 stages of the task. They find out about each other, they exchange a present, and then they post a thank you on the forum. Okay. The last one that I want to talk about as a forum type activity is called A Year in the Life. This one here, you assign each student a year. Okay, so I put the list of the students and I give them each a year: 1976, 2008, 2012, 1994, whatever. They need to put in the form the year they assigned you together with 2 pieces of information: 1 historical event that happened that year and 1 sentence about 1 thing you did that year. So obviously choose years where they would be alive, yeah? And then they have until a certain deadline to post that information, okay? After that, they interact. The next thing you give up is this task. Read what your colleagues wrote, choose 2 different people and ask a question or leave a comment. For example, why did your family move in 2003? Where were you before? Did you like Paris, etc.? So they need to comment and reply to questions by the next deadline. Okay, so the first part, they post the information. Next part, they have to comment and ask and answer questions. And then the third part is optional, but I like doing this, is they make a historical quiz. I put them in pairs. They have to read through the posts and comments and create a historical quiz of 5 questions, including historical facts and personal facts about their colleagues. They can make this quiz in a quiz tool if they want, like Quizlet, or they could make the quiz just simply on a Word document to post and assign to each other. Another way you could do it is you could make the quiz and then post it to everyone, and who can answer the questions first. Okay, so this is another nice kind of way of using all that personal information. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move on now to things using facts and discussions based on facts and researching things. Okay. All right. This one here is called country facts. Okay. So in this task, I assign the name of a country in the group, right? So I put in in whatever the form, I put the name of a country, and everybody has to post 2 facts about the country. They can post an image if they want to go with the facts, but they must post a fact as well. And I try to choose a country that people might not know a lot about, so they do have to do a bit of research. So for example, Belize. I would expect my students don't know much about Belize, so they have to do some reading up and everyone posts 2 facts about that. The next task, the rule, sorry, they need to use their own words, don't cut and paste. They cannot repeat the same facts, so they have to read what other people have written. You get a point for every fact that has not been posted, but if you cut and paste, you lose a point. So obviously this involves some discretion on your behalf, whether or not you want to use this rule, how much you enforce it. You can usually, like, obviously, if something looks very kind of fishy that you think they've copied and pasted a full fact, you can try to check that. I usually do these rules and hope they respect them. The next person, once people have done that, the first person to post, I say, you were the first person. Now they choose the next country. They have to choose a country that's not the home country of any student, not a famous English speaking country. And then we repeat the same thing. So we let this run about a week. And at the end, I make a quiz based on the facts that they came up with, and that they have to then answer at the end of this whole thing. Is a quiz based on all the country facts that they came up with. So I may run this like 2 or 3 times. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's keep going here. Oops, sorry. In this one here, treasure hunt, I've tried this one even in a live lesson, in a small live lesson, but it can also work in an online lesson. What here you need is you need a map. You need to have a map of an area. So find a map from Google Maps or a map of an area that is easy to sort of see the names of the streets and everything. And the first person, student 1, you assign a name and you say you have to post directions from a start point, which you would have marked on the map, to any other location you choose. So, and you write that as a clue. So you would have an X on the map, and they would start saying, okay, turn left at the first traffic lights, turn left again, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. They mustn't name streets or buildings. So they have to post that by that date. So you nominate a student and they have to give directions, like go down 3 streets, turn right, go down 1 street, go onto the left corner. They can't put names. Then student 2, you nominate, read student 1's directions, find out where you are, don't write that. Then you write directions from that place to another location on the map. And then student 3 has to follow students 2 directions. then they go and keep going and adding another place, yeah? When the last person is posted, everyone has to guess where they are, and that's where the treasure is hidden, yeah? So you follow along with it as well and see how many people all ended up at the same space by reading. I usually do this in a group of like 5 people maximum, or I nominate 5 students maximum to do this. So we're all kind of giving directions, yeah? I have tried it live online in a forum, but it is a little bit trickier, yeah? So it's better when they have more time to go back and read and follow the map and so on. So these ones are using maps. Finally, another one that I've really liked doing has been, and I did this in teacher training courses, but you could adapt it for other things, is kind of like a group role play where I put people in different groups and we role play a virtual summit that takes place across like a 2-week or a week-long period. Okay, so I assign a topic for the summit and then people have like role cards in their groups. Okay, so here's an example of one. Again, you could swap out the topic for any topic, okay? In the forum, you're going to play a virtual summit on public health, okay? So I give them the background information. You're part of a panel discussing ways of improving health through diet and fitness. Call together a large group of experts to present ideas on what direction the organization should take. So a constraint is budget. The improvements in public health will lead to blah, 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 blah. So each group is going to share ideas and have to make those ideas as cost effective, okay? And they're gonna present the ideas to a panel of judges who will have time to ask questions. At the end of the summit, the judges will award the stewardship and budget of the new organization to one of these groups. So that's the scene that I set in the forum, and I might put a picture of a summit looking image. And I say, this is our summit that we're going to have. And then groups, I assign students in groups. One group is the judges. They've been appointed how the new National Health and Fitness Initiative will proceed. Several interest groups will present their ideas. You have to read the presentations and ask questions. At the end of the summit, you decide which groups have the best ideas. First thing they have to do is think of a title for the initiative. And then once they send that, then you say, okay, this is the name of the summit. The judges have decided the title, and now each group can present their ideas. Here's an example of 2 groups. One group was the advertising campaign group, and I give them some tips. Yeah, I'll let you read that here. Okay. And, okay, there's one. And then the next group here is on health food subsidies. So this is their role card. Okay, we've got a troll in here, Sophie. So we're gonna have to turn off the chat. Can you turn off the chat? I'm gonna close the chat. We've got a troll in here. And I'm gonna dismiss all the questions, sorry. Okay, all right. Close the chat if possible. Okay, all right, yeah? So those are the things, and then they have the discussion, and at the end, you ask the judges to award the stewardship of the project. Okay, last one is on critical interaction. Here are some different ideas on these kind of things on interacting critically with information. One that I like is called multiple devil's advocate. And for example, here's an example. Again, you would choose your topic that you want to do. This is this one I did on online piracy. So I found a video. There's lots of videos on, like, you know, please don't be an online pirate, etc., and so on. Yeah. So I give the statement: movie or music piracy online, if done by individuals, is not a serious crime. And I let them watch the video and then think about their own feelings. Do they agree or disagree? They leave a very brief comment with their opinion, and they post their opinion on that statement. Yeah, critically interacting with that statement. Then comes the interaction. Okay, so I put the statement again: music or movie or music piracy online, if done by individuals, is not a serious crime. Okay, and then I say you're going to after you've thought about those, now we're going to have this as a staggered form, like everyone comments on the last one, okay? So student 1 posts and plays devil's advocate. So why they think online piracy is a serious crime, even if it's just individuals doing it. Student 2 then plays devil's advocate to the first person's post and argue why it's not a serious crime. Student 3 plays devil's advocate to student 2. Everybody continues this way until everyone is posted, trying not to repeat the same arguments. And then I give them some useful phrases for starting their post. Okay? So phrases like, what this might be true up to a point, this is a good point, however, on the other hand, etc., etc. Okay? So that's one like that. Another one that I've had is done in the same way as a yes, but discussion, where each person has to argue the point of the person above, but begin with yes, but. Yes, but da, 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 da. And the next person writes yes, but da, 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 da. Okay. Finally, I wanted to share with you some form activities on interpreting dreams. Yeah, so sorry, on creative. Interpreting dreams is the name of the one. On creative form activities. So these are activities where people will be creative, will be accessing creative thinking and making stories, telling stories, poems, etc. Okay, this one here is on interpreting dreams. The first thing is that everyone has to post an image of something they might see in a dream. This was based on a discussion I had already done with students or their own idea. So they need to post a dream image picture by, and then you insert a date. So people just post a bunch of images that they might, or an image each that they might see in a dream. The second task is the story. Students each have to choose 4 or 5 of the images and create a dream story. So they have to talk about these images in the dream, yeah, in any order. And they write 1 sentence per image. So they can begin like, last night I had the strangest dream, and then they say, I saw this, this happened, etc. They post their stories. The interaction part is next. I put the list of all the students' names. They look for the name after their name. This is their partner. If they're the last person on the list, then their partner is the first person on the list. They need to find their partner's dream story. They need to read it and then write a reply to the story, tell them what they think the dream means using these phrases. The image of X could mean, you dreamt that you were, this means you are, I think that represents. So basically what everyone has done is they've all fed in ideas for dream things. They've chosen some of those to make a story, and then they're interacting by kind of pretending to interpret each other's dream stories. Another one that I did was a series of dispatches that students had to do from a journey to Mars. So I said, in this forum, you're all going to imagine that you're on a journey to Mars. So first of all, post a description of what your role is on the ship and what your job is and how you got here and so on. So everyone posted a description of like a little role play kind of thing. And then during the week, I was like, okay, you've been in the ship now for 7 days. Please post a message back to your family saying what's going on and so on and so forth. And I had a series of different kind of things that happened there. This, by the way, if you want to take your cameras out and take a picture, I'm going to share with you some material that I wrote based on getting a job on Mars. If you take a picture of that, I've made it free for all of you here, is based on a series of NASA images and postcards on applying for a job on Mars. So there's a reading comprehension and a discussion question kind of thing, which you could put into a forum. So if you take a photo of that and then use that link, you can get that for free to do some lessons with. Okay. All right. I'm going to just stop here just for 1 second while I just get some more water, and I'll going to come back and we're going to talk about live lessons in just a second. I'm just going to grab some water. All right, let's keep going then. Okay, so what I've been doing in this first half of the session had been talking about activities that you can do in forums. So this would be like in a Moodle forum, or if you had a Facebook group which had kind of forum things, or if you were setting up any kind of thing where you had a forum where students could participate asynchronously during the week at their own times. So those were different ideas on how to use those. What I'm going to share with you now are more quick, kind of fun, live lesson activities that can be used in a Zoom room, like what we're in right now. Okay, so let me just, I'm going to share with you some of these here. Oh, I'm just coming out of this. Sorry, going back into it again. Oops, here we are. So these are different ones that I want to share with you, and we'll see if our troll has gone away. Yes, I don't know if they have or not. We'll see. If our troll has not gone away, I'll just have to explain these to you, and we won't do all of this. Okay, the live lesson activities are ones that I would use. These are like kind of warm-up ones. So if the discussion forum ones, I find that discussion forums are better for like longer extended bits of writing, more thought process goes into them. It's harder to do that kind of longer work in a chat thing and in an open forum thing. If you have a very small group and all of you can be on webcam at the same time, then perhaps, yes. Unfortunately, this is not the case for everybody. These are activities where lots of the time you only need one person to be on the webcam, and then the others are participating by chat, by the chat box, okay? So in this case here, these are the kinds of things I might do to warm up a lesson. So in my webinars the other times, I talked about beginning a lesson, and while people are kind of getting settled in and everything, doing a warm-up activity to make sure everyone's paying attention and so on. These can also be a sort of warmers throughout a lesson, yeah? Okay, let's take a look at one here. This one here is called Think of Three. Actually, I'm going to do this with you. We'll see if this works. I don't know if the chat is on again now or not, but can someone just type yes if you're able to? Hello. Okay, good. Yep. Excellent. All right, great. So we're going to play this quick game of Think of Three. Okay, so you need to have your fingers ready, and you're going to type the three things all on one line. All right, let me just restate that. You're typing your three things all on one line. So it would be like blue, green, red. If you look at the chat, I just typed that blue, green, red. So you type it all on one line. I'm going to give you a category, and you need to type three things in that category. Okay, ready? Get your fingers ready. The first category is irregular verbs in their past form of irregular verbs, past form of irregular verbs. Okay, good. People have already started doing it. Excellent. All right, the next category. And then what I do is with students, everyone's writing it. Excellent. You're so many that are going up, I can't comment on each of them. But if there were like 8 or 9 students, I would respond, I would do correction and so on, yeah? And then I start going quicker, all right? We're going to do another thing, another category. Ready? Another category. 3 nationalities that end in AN. Nationalities that end in AN. Nationalities that end in AN. Oh, excellent. You're getting it. All right, get ready. It's going to start going quicker now. 3 kinds of fruit. Okay, switch now to 3 kinds of fruit. Excellent. 3, I'm going to go even quicker. Look how all they're coming up. 3 things you put on your feet. 3 things you put on your feet. Excellent. All right, I'm going to stop us there. So excellent. You've all done really well. If I was doing this with students, I would be also reviewing vocabulary we'd seen. I usually start an activity like a webinar, maybe with a Think of Three type activity. And then I go quicker and quicker. So I start quite slow, and then I'd be like, 3 things on your desk, go. 3 things you put on your feet, go. 3 kinds of fruit, etc. And I might review vocabulary and so on. So I may do this as a kind of This is another kind of reason for this is it's like a focusing game. So if I want to make sure that everyone is still listening and still there, I might do this sort of like, okay, everyone, let's take a break. We're going to do a quick think of three, get ready, have your fingers ready, and so on. So that's a kind of fun thing. Again, reviewing any vocabulary. Another one is, okay. Right, Lynn. Okay, yes, thanks, Sophie. Sophie just mentioned that only I can see the comments, but all of you put the comments and it's going really well. Excellent. Here are two other ones that I've done as well. We'll do one of these together, I think. But the first one I'll explain. Finish my sentence is a fun one to do. Again, I often do this at the end of a lesson or at the beginning of the lesson. So I would write a beginning of a sentence and I say a beginning of the sentence and then people have to write the end. So I would say, all right, I will start the sentence. For example, I have always wanted to visit, and then people type whatever their country. Then I use this to ask follow-up questions. Yeah. So I'd always want, or my idea of a perfect day is, or last weekend and I often do at the very end of the class. After the class, I am going to, and then I ask students to complete the sentence, and then I do a bit of feedback on that, okay? Another one that I like doing is word pairs. So I give students the first word, and then they have to put another word that goes well with it. So we're doing binomials, and I start with the easy ones, but then there's lots of other kind of ones that happen. Let me just see if I can find these here. I had a list of them. So we'll see if we can do this together. Hold on, language. Let's see here. All right, okay, so let's get ready. We'll see if we can do this, right? So I'm going to give you the first word. For example, if I gave you salt and, you would write pepper. But sometimes there will be other options, okay? So the first I'm gonna put here, right, as R-I-G-H-T, right and, excellent. Okay, right and wrong, right and left. So lots of those have come up. Okay, let's do another one. Get ready. Bacon and, okay, eggs, only eggs. Bacon and sausage, bacon and hash browns. Excellent. Bacon and more bacon. Very funny. Bacon and more, bacon and cheese. Okay, so excellent. Here's another one. King and queen. King and queen, king and prince, king and country. I was waiting for that one to come up. King and country, king and castle. Yeah. Love and hate, love and war, love and marriage, love and lust, love and tears. Excellent. All right. So basically, if you find a list of, these are called binomials, by the way. If you find a list of binomials, I like to do this activity and then I ask people why they connected one with another. Yeah. So love and chocolate, love and respect, love and rockets. Excellent group. That's a good one there too. So again, all of these activities, what they have in common is they are like focusing activities to make sure everyone's listening, to bring everyone together, to do a quick thing before moving on to another aspect of the class. Other ones that we're not going to do this one, but these ones I've played before with language classes and just with friends. Yum and yuck is one of them where I would post or describe a description of a dish and a drink and ask if you like it. I do this with low levels, by the way. So then they write their answer either yum or yuck. And then after they do this, I post a new one. And so at the beginning, task one, I'm just getting them to post yum or yuck. So I would say, for example, let's take an example of someone said before, maple syrup. So you post yum or yuck for maple syrup, okay? Lots of yums. Someone's gonna post it, yum, yummy, yucky, yuck. Some are posting yuck, okay? And then I would give another one, etc. And then we continue like that for a while with the students. If they don't know what it is, they ask and I tell them. And then the next task is I say, okay, now I want you to think of a dish that you can describe in a similar way. I'll start again, and then I nominate somebody and they post their dish and ask another person. So then I would say, for example, Diana, do you like tea with milk? And then Diana's the only one who answers either orally or writing, yum. And then she says like, whatever, Prue, do you like this? And then Prue answers yuck, and then says, and do you like this? And so on. Everyone should reply and post one choice nominating. And then I'm moderating that in a way as well. Another more complicated variation of this is a game called This or That, where one person types a choice. So instead of like addition, you say yum or yuck, you post a choice of two things. So I would post, for example, PC or Mac, and then I would nominate someone, and that person has to answer and say why, yeah? And then that person who I nominated, so if I asked, for example, Ellen, PC or Mac, and Ellen wrote Mac, she'd have to say because or whatever, and then she nominates someone else and says something else. For example, she would say, Sammy, coffee or tea? And then he would answer, and then he would say, so-and-so, cats or dogs? So-and-so, whatever, yeah? So they would, they do, like, everybody has a chance to ask someone else about a choice of things. Again, this is a fun little sort of game type activity. Excellent. Some other choices, options here: face-to-face or online, Saturdays or Sundays, I don't know, TV series or movies, Netflix or cinema, Burger King or McDonald's, summer or winter, beach or mountain. Other people are coming up, night or day. Lots of people are coming up with good examples here. Yeah. So I play that as a game with students as well. Okay. Another one here. Unfortunately, we're not really able to do this, but this is, this can be done in a forum or online, is a word association chain. Yeah. So in this one here, one person starts by typing a word, yeah? I started this by saying the word has to be something that you find in an office, okay? And then the next person underneath, I might nominate them. They post a word associated with that word. This can be a synonym, an antonym, collocation, another word in the same family or topic area. Could be a verb, adjective, adverb. And then the next person after that types a new word that is associated with the last word typed. Continue this way until everyone has typed one word. So for example, we might get tea, India, elephants, memory, seaside holidays, etc. At the end, I'm like, okay, everybody, I might nominate someone. I say, we got from tea to holidays. Describe to me how two of those connections work. Yeah. And then we follow up like that. So again, this is a kind of fun thing where everybody's waiting for their name to be called and then putting an association of a word. Another way, if you don't want them to type it, is that you could type it. So you could just call on them orally. So you could say, okay, whatever, Karen started with T, and then Liz, what do you say? And then she gives a word, I type it, etc. Yeah. So you go from one word to another. This one works well in that kind of live lesson thing as a game. Here's another one that I like, and this could work for academic type English as well, although I've made it with a general English bent here. Just a moment. Oh, sorry, lost my screen here for a second. Okay, so connections. In this one here, I nominate two people in the group, and I say, send me the name of a famous person. Now, if you want, this could be a famous writer or a place or something like that. I like to do it with people because this is like, we're doing a 6 degrees of separation type of thing. So they send me the name of a person in the private message. Your famous person can be alive or dead. Okay, so so then I name 2 students. Please send me your names. Don't post them publicly. Then everyone, here are the 2 names I was given. So I get them to give me the names. So someone sent me Barack Obama, someone sent me Jackie Chan. And now I'm gonna say everybody has to think of ways to connect these people. You can use the internet to help you. You might find, for example, they have met, they were headline news the same day, they live in the same country, the same color hair. Now I'm gonna put you in the breakout room for 10 minutes. How many connections can you make with your partner about these 2 people? So I say, you're going to go into a breakout room, open a new tab on your computer. You have 10 minutes to find as many connections as possible between these 2 names that were given to me. Go off and do it. And so then they go off and do their things. At the end of 10 minutes, we come back and I ask people to suggest the connections that they made, and I type them up into the chat or onto the whiteboard, and do correction of that, and so on and so forth. This could be adapted then for like 2 names of authors, 2 places. I'm not sure what else. I'm sure you could think of other ways of doing this kind of task thing that's not just, someone's asked, sorry, I can address this one. How do you get them to continue English in the breakout rooms? Well, I go and monitor the breakout rooms. So once they're in the breakout rooms, I can go from breakout room to breakout room and make sure that they're doing it. I might give them a specific task. You have to make at least 2 connections in English. Yeah, so now I can't monitor that they're using the tab, the other computer tab in English or their language, but if they're producing it in English, that's enough for me. Here's another example of this. In this activity, I say, I'm gonna give you a word. Oh, sorry, someone asked, what do you mean open a tab? I mean that in your, like open an internet tab, open a browser in another window. So you may have to do some teaching them how to do that. So I can have Zoom open, but I can also have another thing open. And usually the command is Alt Tab to go from one window to another. Yeah. In this one, this activity is called Here's the Answer. I start by giving people a word or phrase in a category, and they have to write a question that goes with the word. So for example, if I wrote the word Mount Everest, they could type the question, what's the highest mountain in the world? And so the category we use is cities and countries. I type the word, everyone types a question. Now, they may not be able to, I say you may need to use the internet to research a question. So you have 5 minutes, turn off your webcams, go off and find something about this so you can ask a question. I correct any answers. And then once they've done it, now someone else thinks of another word in the same category. Your turn, type your word. Everyone else makes questions for that word. Okay. By the way, what you'll notice is the difference between the discussion forum and the live task is the live tasks ones are very quick and less to kind of type and work on. The longer writings, I make them do in discussion forum activities. Here's another one. I give them a topic of something, and I want you to take turns to tell the others about the topic, but I'm going to choose a topic you probably don't know much about, so you need to open another browser window and search for something to share with the group. I'll give you the topic and then give you 3 minutes to find something you could say about it. When you're ready, you type ready into the chat box. The topic is, and then whatever, a topic that they might not know that much about. I mean, I put rhubarb as a joke, don't probably do rhubarb, but it could be something else like that that they might not know about. So they're using their search skills, they're finding something to express in English that they can say something about in English, collect and correct the sentences that they make. The next part, we get them to they talk about the topic, they talk about one fact at a time, introducing a fact with the phrases that we saw. For example, like, something interesting I found out about rhubarb, or one thing you might not know about rhubarb is, or, so I might give them some phrases that they could use. And then, so they have the facts there, and then they react to another person's fact with another phrase like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, I think I read that somewhere. And then they add their fact. Okay. So we have a kind of guided discussion in this way. Yeah. Again, if you are wondering, there will be a PDF of these slides and activities. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Here are the phrases that I give them to do this. So, did you know? I read somewhere that, I heard that, I didn't know this, but apparently rhubarb, whatever. Someone told me, etc. And then the reacting to information. I do this. This part I do this as open pairs. Someone's asking whole class or pairs. So I say someone say something and then someone else responds. So I nominate, but they could do this in pairs as well. I like to do this one whole class. Let's finish our session today by talking a little bit about assessment. Okay, so lots of these activities, what we've looked at is they would be producing written or oral language and I'm thinking here now more of the discussion forum type activities, but you could do this for the live. And often when we're assessing this, we start by assessing accuracy and range, right? So we often do like grammar and vocabulary, and these are the 2 logical places where we'd be assessing, but it's not always enough, or it might not be desirable, you know? So just as we'll assess fluency for oral activities, here are areas that you can assess with online interaction. One could be promptness. So part of the assessment could include a rubric for promptness. That is, did they participate early enough to allow interaction? This way that if you had like 5 marks out of 20 are for promptness, that means for your discussion forum, if you have a student who consistently posts very late, then they will lose marks on that for promptness. Another one is frequency. Did the student participate actively, but without dominating? Yeah, again, I'm thinking about forums. So what I've had in some classes, I've had students who don't participate frequently enough. They hardly participated at all, so they don't get all the marks for frequency. But I have other ones who participate too much, like they dominate. They answer all the questions early. They post really long answers, and this is sort of like they're doing things so frequently that it seems to be only them who are doing this. Yeah. You could also assess for quality. Was the quality of the contribution complete and thoughtful, or was it like, oh, I thought that was a good idea? Yeah. And relevance. Sorry, I've just got to close the door here. Sorry about that. One of the things of being locked down is everyone is in the house at the same time. Okay, so, and the last one is, were the contributions relevant to the task? So I will often put these into rubrics and share the rubrics with the students. Here's an example of a rubric for promptness and frequency. You get a grade of 1 if you did not make the minimum number of posts or if you posted very late. A grade of 2 if you made the minimum number of posts, but you did not post promptly, so you posted it quite late. 3 if you made above the minimum number of posts, if you post promptly and replied. And 4, if you contributed frequently and posted early in the interaction, replied to all the posts, you'll get the maximum points awarded. After a live session, someone's just asked, and I don't know what James Harlan's question was that someone mentioned here, but after a live session, someone asked if it's possible to check the chat contributions. It is in Zoom, yes. Yeah, and someone's asked if it's possible to share these slides. I think they will be shared, yes, on the English Australia.
Yeah, they will be. And I think James just suggested or asked if you could do a session on online assessment.
Okay.
And James, Lindsay, I'll let you answer that question. But James, it is something we're looking at organising as well. But Lindsay, I'll let you answer the question.
Well, I know that was asked before, so I wanted to touch a little bit on this. And basically, I don't have tons to say on like setting up a whole assessment scheme for a school, but in terms of assessing interaction, I do have these rubrics, which I'm sharing with you, and I'll also share with you the book that I wrote where we had a chapter on feedback and assessment. So here would be the criteria then and rubric for promptness and frequency. And then here is sample rubrics for assessment criteria for interaction. Yeah. So for example, a low mark would be someone who did not engage with any other contributions, didn't reply to posts, or made inappropriate contributions. They would suffer then from low mark. They would lose marks on that. Or bare minimum, engaged superficially, did not encourage further interaction, encouraged others to post, replied and ask questions. Full marks as if they engaged actively with others, showed detailed reading of others' posts, asked and answered questions. Yeah. So these I was doing a online course with teachers, doing a teacher development course where we had a discussion forum, and we told them that part of their marks were on interaction, promptness, and frequency. And we shared these criteria, and we said, you know, like 20% of your grade is going to be what happens in these forums. And this is how we're grading it. And in fact, because we weren't grading their English at all, we were doing mostly on promptness, frequency, interaction, and relevance. So those were our criteria and our rubrics that we made, and then we graded them on that. Yeah, and there were often 2 teachers that would discuss, 2 tutors that discussed the grading and so on. Okay, this I think almost brings me to an end, and it brings us to an end of our session here. A lot of these ideas come, sorry, this is my only little plug here, is a book called Interaction Online, where lots of these ideas come from. But again, you'll be getting the slides and PDF with lots of those activities all written out. That's where you can find out about me and where different places I work and so on. And I'd like to say thanks here. And if there's a couple of minutes left, if there are questions, I do want to address one thing that happened. We had a troll in here, so who was bombing the stuff. Hopefully that shouldn't happen to any of you in your classroom things. But as you can see, we just dealt with it by Sophie just cutting out that person and then just ignoring those questions. Yeah. But sorry if it distracted me a little bit because someone was being very trolly, which is unfortunate. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming. Sophie, are there any questions that weren't, yeah, they're still dominated by all of this troll stuff. So can't really see that. Yeah. The web, someone's asking about the web link that was obscured. I can go back to that. Well, it'll be in the slides that will be shared on the site. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lindsay, thank you. Thanks to everyone for coming along, also for putting up with some of the difficulties in the chat feed. And we got on top of them by the end. But yeah, sorry that you were distracted, Lindsay.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
None of us noticed.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Thank you for all the brilliant ideas as always. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the encouragement at the end there. It helps undo some of the stuff that was in the chat earlier. And stay safe, everybody. Yeah, greetings from Spain. Hopefully we're going to get over the curve now of what's happening. And yeah, well, we're all doing our best. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands, etc. And all the best. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay, I'll contact you right afterwards. Okay, Sophie?
Okay, sure.
Perhaps. All right. Bye.
Bye.